Insurance company.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Years ago, we introduced a two-step soil enrichment service to our weed and feed program. Here is what our customers have noticed: improved water retention, reduced compaction, stimulated root growth, and an increase in nutrient and fertilizer uptake, resulting in a greener and healthier lawn this summer. Add this popular two-step soil enrichment service to your lawn care program and get the second service half off.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the Lawn Doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
Golfers, make plans now for a great day of golf at the Slough in the Rough Golf Tournament, Friday, May 9th at Logan River Golf Course. Breakfast and registration begins at 8 a.m. with a shotgun start at 9 a.m. followed by lunch and lots of prizes. Gift bags will be available for all participants. The Slough in the Rough Golf Tournament is an event to raise funds benefiting students and teachers through the Logan Schools Foundation. Reserve your foursome spot and get signed up today online at loganschoolsfoundation.org.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And good morning. We welcome you to the show on a gorgeous Saturday morning. You know, we've been thinking about it this last week. This is the weather that we look forward to, and the reason why we suffer through the winters that we do.
Is for the brief moment of spring that we get.
Yeah.
You know, it's so nice. We were at graduation yesterday, and we went out, and it's like, this is like just, the weather's just so nice. It was perfect. They even gave out ice cream for like all the attendees. That was like a surprise.
Which is perfect when it's, 73, 74 degrees
so
yesterday.
It's just like, after graduation, go out here, at Legacy Park, and we've got ice cream for everybody. It's like, dang, I don't remember having given ice cream away before.
Love that. Yeah,
it was awesome.
Congratulations to the Andersons family. That's really cool.
Yeah, super, super cool.
And, of course, to all of the graduates. It's been an exciting week, and thankfully the weather really cooperated for graduation, as Wednesday, Thursday, Friday have been some of the nicest weather we've had so far.
Doesn't happen very often for graduation. It usually it rains or snows every time, so we'll take it. But makes for some great gardening weather, too.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's like so nice outside. So I was out playing in the garden last night, pruning a few trees, watering a few things, and it was just nice being outside. I was out till dark, basically, just doing stuff. So,
yeah, and if you love the temperatures yesterday, today's supposed to be even warmer. We do have some storms coming in for tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, and we'll talk about that a little bit because we're still getting quite a bit of moisture in this area, and so that can definitely help you keep from having to use your sprinklers so much.
Exactly. For at least another week. If we get a nice rainstorm, Monday, Tuesday, then we can go another week without having to water. So maybe we can even get to the middle part of May without even turning the sprinklers on. So that would be really nice. But some great things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden. So greenhouses are full. We've got hanging baskets. We've got flowers. We've got vegetables. Like, all the greenhouses are full. We just got a big shipment of perennials in. Not yesterday, but the day before. So on Thursday, we got a whole bunch of perennials, and they look amazing. So lots and lots of color at the store. Of course, we've got all of our shade trees, and almost all of our shrubs are in. We've got 2 more loads of shrubs coming next week, so we'll be stocked up. And then, believe it or not, it's rose season. Our roses are showing up, I think, on Monday as well, too. So Monday or Tuesday, roses should be in. So we're looking at roses that are coming from Northern California, and they will be in full bloom. So they'll be ready to go out into everybody's yards, and they'll be beautiful already.
Perfect time for Mother's Day.
Yeah, perfect time for Mother's Day.
If you're looking for a great gift for Mom.
Yeah, Mother's Day's next weekend, so not only will we have great hanging baskets, but we'll have all these gorgeous roses as well too. And if the roses look as good as they did last year, they will look amazing this year. So we're super excited about that. There's some really fun activities coming up at Anderson's here, though. Not only is it just Mother's Day next weekend, but the weekend after we have a kids market on Center Street. So on Center Street on Saturday, the 17th, from 9 o'clock until 1, we're going to have the kids market. And the kids market is an opportunity for young entrepreneurs to show off their product. Some of it's homemade, some of it's purchased, some of it's been constructed. I mean, they have all kinds of really cool different things. And this market's been going on for a couple of years. I think they've been holding it in Hiram and also in
North Logan.
In North Logan, yeah, in North Logan. And so we invited them to come down to Center Street. So on Center Street, not next week, but the week after, the kids market from 9 until 1. And the street won't be closed. So the street's going to be open so you can still access all the businesses. They'll just be on the sidewalks.
Oh, okay.
I'll be on the sidewalks. And as of right now, I think we have 45 to 50 kids who will have booths there on Saturday. It should be really fun. It should be a great complement to the farmers market, which usually starts about the same time. I'm not sure if they start the 17th or if it's like right after. I know they start like really, really close. But it'd be a perfect complement to come down, hang out at the farmers market or the gardeners market, sorry, and then go to the kids market as well too. So there'll be some really fun things going on the 17th. So that's from 9 in the morning until 1. We don't want to like kill the kids the first day.
Okay. Yeah.
So just 4 hours.
4 hours on Center Street.
Just 4 hours of fun on Center Street. And then since everybody's getting excited about planting, I've seen lots of tomatoes and lots of peppers go out of the greenhouses. You know, everybody's starting to get really excited. Don't forget that we could have frost still. Yeah. So we got to protect those plants. But I have a new tomato this year, and it is limited in stock. And some people may want to try it, and some people might not want to try it. But it is a genetically modified tomato. So this is the first time we've ever had a genetically modified anything in the store. But it's a very, very unique tomato, and it comes out of the UK. So this is from the United Kingdom, and it is called the purple tomato, which is the stupidest name I've ever heard. But it is called the purple tomato. So if you want to look it up, you can look it up online. There's lots of information on it. It is supposed to be the most nutritious tomato ever developed, and it is purple all the way through. Like the interior of the tomato is dark purple, just like the exterior of the tomato.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a really, really unique plant, and the seeds are almost impossible to get. So they're really, really hard to get. And I started mine about 8 weeks ago, and they are like perfect right now. So they're in 4-inch containers. Okay. They're about, 10 inches tall. Might have some that are 8, some that are 12, but they look amazing. They're perfect to like sell right now. And so if you want to try a purple tomato, I will sell one per customer. I only have about 50. If you really want to try it, I'm not going to be there today because my daughter is commissioning into the Air Force.
Yeah, because
graduation. Yeah, so we're pretty excited about that. So I won't be there. But if you talk to some of my staff, you know, David, Sierra, Josh, they'll be able to help you get one because they're not going to be in the greenhouse. We've got them tucked away. They are kind of expensive, so they're $10 each. But this is the most unique tomato that you'll ever grow. You'll never see another tomato like it. Maybe for the next 5 or 10 years.
Purple tomato.
It's called the purple tomato.
Okay.
They're going to be $10 each. I've got a very limited amount. So if you want to try the purple tomato, make sure you talk to my staff, and they'll be able to help you with that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, we can talk a lot about gardens and plants and what can go in right now and what you might want to hold off on and what you may want to just protect a little bit more as you're planting. Phone lines are open. We can take your calls. 435-753-5868. That's 435-753-KVNU. Phone lines are totally open this morning for your calls, your comments for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. And, you know, I mentioned before we were starting the show, I'm seeing a lot of people, they're starting to get out into their garden, and it seems like all of us got a little bit of spring fever.
Spring fever's rolling around.
getting maybe a little overexcited because I'm sure Mother Nature still has a few curveballs to throw at us.
Yeah.
So what kind of things can go in for sure, and then what things would you probably want to protect a little bit?
So right now we're kind of moving into what we call our Group C on our planting guide, and that is like corn and beans, because corn and beans are going to take a week to come up. And so looking at the forecast, if you want to try and kind of push the season just a little bit, you could plant those this weekend before it rains on, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, which would be perfect to get that soil nice and moist, to get the beans and the corn to germinate and to come up. But if we have a frost between, the time they germinate and come up and Memorial Day, they're probably going to get damaged. So you could take your chances and see what happens, because our last frost averages the 20th of May. And you just never know, because last year our last frost was on the 18th of June. And as you recall, it was really late last year. So we had frost. I know you had frost at your house.
Yeah. And if you look at temperatures where we have been just in the last week, we've been down around 35, 36. And it doesn't take much just to drop us down another 10 degrees or so.
But no frost for the last week and a half, I think.
No.
And I'm looking at the forecast going, the next week and a half doesn't look like frost either. So it's very, very tempting to go out there and do it. The only thing that you're out is a little bit of time and a little bit of seed that you could just replant. I mean, you're not going to be behind or anything if you plant and it gets damaged. But you could have a little head start if you wanted to start some stuff this weekend. If you were to plant squashes, melons, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, you're definitely going to want to protect those still. So like my giant pumpkins are looking really, really good. I've got them in 3-gallon containers right now, but I've got them on the porch. So they're on the back deck and they're getting lots of sun and they've got a little bit of shade in the late afternoon, so they're kind of in a little protected location, but I've let them kind of stay outside for the last couple nights. So when I transplant those out into the garden, they're going to be just like ready to go.
Already acclimated.
Yeah, they're like going to be ready to go. And so I'm just like deliberating whether to put those out here in the next little bit or not, and really get them established and get them going in the garden. But they are super tender, so one frost and it's going to damage them. Yeah, we just definitely don't want that, since I've been working on those for a month already. Same thing with the tomatoes. It's like one frost and they'll be damaged. So walls of water, aquadomes, hot caps, frost cloth, they're going to give you a measure of added protection. So, frost cloth and hot caps are going to give you 2 to 3 degrees of added protection, where a water device like a wall of water or an aquadome, they're going to give you more like 10 degrees of protection. So at that point, you're probably fine to put those out with the wall of water or the aquadome on them, because they'll get you down to the low 20s, and we should not. My fingers are crossed. My toes are crossed. We should not get that cold again.
Low, for sure.
We should definitely not get that cold again. So we could start planting some tender crops, especially if you have a little bit of frost protection. And I'm kind of tempted to maybe throw some corn or some beans out and see what happens. It's like weather's looking great next week after that storm. So like mid 70s, high 70s even. It's looking perfect. And I'm just like, we need to take advantage of that weather.
Okay. All right. So really anything in that Group C can go in.
Yes.
You just may want to possibly
protect
it a little bit.
Yeah. See, and then all the really tender stuff. So the melons, the cucumbers, the pumpkins, the squashes, the tomatoes, the peppers, those are in our Group D. We usually say, between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, you're okay to plant those. And Mother's Day's next weekend.
Yeah.
So we're almost there. Yeah, we're getting really close.
And of course, this applies primarily. We're talking about the Logan area. We realize that there is a lot of variance in temperatures throughout our listening audience.
Absolutely.
Montpelier, you guys are still at least a month more from planting up there.
1st of June for Rich County is usually pretty appropriate. And even the west side of Cache Valley can get pretty chilly. So we've seen frost in Mendon, Wellsville, and nothing on the east side of the valley. So you just have to watch your local temperatures and see what's happening. But if we're going to be below 32 you got to either wait or protect those plants, because once we're into May, everybody gets excited. They want to get out there and do some planting, and that goes for flowers as well too. Petunias and geraniums can handle a light frost. It won't damage those. They can do just fine with a very light frost. But sweet potato vines and marigolds and zinnias, one frost, and you're replanting. Yeah, you're replanting, because those sweet potato vines, they get down to like 45 degrees in the greenhouse, and they're just like, they just lay on the ground. They're just so unhappy. So they really need some nice warmer temperatures before we start planting those.
Okay.
Yeah.
435-753-5868 is the phone number. If you've got a question for Mark about plants, what can go into the garden or what's best to protect, and 435-753-KVNU is that number. Now, also, the other thing I'm noticing a lot, our apple trees have exploded. The blossoms everywhere.
Yeah, loaded.
And for spraying and taking care of those trees to try to make sure that you get a good crop, what's the best way to help preserve that crop and protect your fruit trees?
So while the apples and pears are in bloom, this is the time to spray for fire blight. And so right now, weather conditions are optimal for not spreading fire blight. But if it rains this next week while they're in bloom, that's when it usually happens.
Okay.
And so this weekend, it's going to be critical that you get a protective spray on your apples and pears to prevent them from getting fire blight, because it's going to rain. It's definitely going to rain in the next couple of days. And that's when the bacteria gets spread from the branches and the twigs back into the tree through the blossoms. So it enters in through the blossoms. So there's a couple different options that you have to spray for fire blight. So you can do streptomycin sulfate, which is the fire blight spray from Fertilome. It's an antibiotic, won't hurt the bees, won't hurt you. It's a great product to try and prevent that bacteria from getting back into the tree. Anything with copper in it, so copper soap, copper fungicide. The copper really does a great job at controlling diseases as well too. And then the fungicide 5 is supposed to work really well on fire blight also. It's a bacteria, but it's a good bacteria. It's a good bacteria, and it kills bad bacteria. And so that's another option. And then garden phos, for sure. Garden phos is the only thing that will stop fire blight after it's gotten into the tree. And so you can use it preventatively as well as curatively. So there's multiple options. But where we can see in the forecast that there is a storm next week for sure, while the apples are going to be in bloom, this is the time to spray to prevent them from getting that particular disease. We want to stop it before it gets started.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then we really won't start spraying for insects. Codling moth will get into the apples and pears throughout the summertime, but we don't need to worry about protecting the fruit until about the 1st of June. And so USU Extension puts traps up throughout the entire state in May, and they will monitor the activity of the codling moth. And when the moths are really active, that means they're laying eggs on the fruit. That's when you want to spray. And so usually it's the last week of May, first part of June, depending on what the weather does. Okay. So we're just kind of like waiting right now to find out when that's going to be. But I would just say anticipate putting your first spray for codling moth on apples and pears the 1st of June. Just kind of shoot for the 1st of June. And it's going to be really close. Okay. It might be a couple days before, it might be a couple days after, but it's going to be really close to that. And there's some really great options for that as well too. So if you want to go organic, you can do spinosad, you can do the fruit tree spray from Fertilome. Both of those are fully organic, but also very, very effective on controlling codling moth. They last about 10 days, maybe 12 days. So you got to spray about every 2 weeks to really stay on top of it with those two. And then you've got some new options for some synthetic insecticides that are also very, very safe and very effective, but they have a longer residual, so you don't have to spray as often. So you've got 7, you've got the new Lambda Cylohethrin bug blaster from High Yield. Those are both going to last 21 days, so you only have to spray every 3 weeks. And if you time it right, you can probably just get away with spraying once a month. Okay. And it'll do a really, really, really great job. And then we've got a really nice fungicide insecticide combo from Bonide. It's called Fruit Tree and Plant Guard. Really, really great combination for disease control and insects at the same time, and it also has that same longer residual, so it's gonna last the 21 days. So those are some good options. And then on your stone fruits, if you've got apricots or peaches or plums or cherries that have dropped all their blossoms. So they've all dropped their blossoms at this point. This is a time to spray a little fungicide to prevent them from getting, say, shot hole fungus or corinium blight or peach leaf curl. Usually right after those blossoms drop and the fruit are starting to set is a really good time to spray for disease. And so F-Stop is a systemic that works really, really well right after those blossoms drop off. The copper soap, the fungicide 5, you've got multiple options to try and get those diseases under control just as they're starting to spread. And again, when you get those rainstorms, that's when those diseases really spread. So spraying this weekend right before this storm coming up would be just perfect. Yeah, it's like perfect timing. Yeah.
Now, some people oftentimes say once the trees have started to blossom, then you should hold off on pruning them. If you didn't prune already, is it too late to prune?
It's not too late to prune, and it is best to not prune while they're in bloom. But you can prune after they're done blooming. I mean, it's not going to hurt the trees that much if you go out and do a little selective pruning while they're in bloom. It's just not a problem. But you don't want to do like a full heavy prune like you would in the springtime. You can just go in there and start selectively taking things out, and you can do that throughout the entire season. So it's really not limited to. You can only prune, in the month of April,
right,
or the month of March. That's the only time you can prune. No, we're going to go out there and prune whenever it needs it. And so you can still definitely do some pruning. We encourage people not to prune while they're in bloom, but it really wouldn't be a problem. But a lot of gardeners will prune after they're done blooming, because then you can see kind of where your fruit production is going to be and other stuff. You can go, there's 3 branches that are like right on top of each other right there. It's like I need to take 2 of those out. After they're done blooming, you can see which one's going to be the most productive, and take the other 2 out. And so sometimes it's helpful to wait until the leaves come out and the blossoms are out, so you can see which branches really are the best ones. Because sometimes when they're dormant, it's hard to tell who's going to be the winner out of 3. So you just never know. So looks like we got a phone call.
Yeah, let's head out to the phones with our first call on the Garden Guide here on Saturday morning. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you. My question is, you're talking about spraying for the fire blight.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to wait till the bees go home for the night, or?
No, but it is recommended that you wait and spray in the evening. It's more comfortable for you. The bees have gone home, so we're definitely not going to bother them at all. And all these sprays that I've talked about for disease control and especially for fire blight are non-toxic to the bees. So you won't have to worry about hurting the bees at all. But it is best to spray in the evening when they've kind of gone home for the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question.
No, wonderful. Are you going to come get one of the purple tomatoes, Lori?
No, I started some tomatoes, and I've got like 50 of them.
Oh,
so
that's all? What's 51 when you have 50? It doesn't really make much difference. This is a large cherry tomato, and when you cut it open, it is purple all the way through, all the way through. So,
well, it sounds interesting anyway.
It's very cool. It's supposed to be really high in antioxidants and lycopene and all kinds of good things. So it's supposed to be the most nutritious tomato ever developed. So,
well, I'll let someone else who doesn't have any tomatoes.
All right. You're no fun. Lori.
Thank you so much for the call, Lori. Phone lines are open, 435-753-5868, 435-753-KVNU. To call in with a question, comment for Mark. We've got just a couple minutes before our bottom of the hour news break. And for people that were not tuning in a little late, didn't catch what we were talking about at the first of the show, a lot of things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, next couple of weeks. So this weekend, greenhouses are absolutely full. We've got flowers, we've got vegetables, we've got perennials, we've got shrubs, we've got trees, and more shrubs coming next week. So I've got more of the later shrubs, so like hydrangeas and butterfly bushes and hibiscus are all going to start coming in. Roses are coming in next week. And then, the weekend after Mother's Day. So for Mother's Day, we'll have lots and lots of hanging baskets, like gorgeous hanging baskets. But we'll have the kids market on the 17th of May. So the kids market's going to be on Center Street. There's going to be about 40 to 50 kids vendors there. So they're children entrepreneurs that are just starting up their own businesses, and they'll be there on Center Street. And there's going to be about 45 or 50 is kind of what we're anticipating, and it should be a lot of fun. So from 9 until 1, the kids market will be going on, and you can come down, have some fun on Center Street, and at Anderson, there's always something fun going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's always something
Plus, we should mention, we started it last week, the compost tea party, but
yes.
compost tea is brewing now.
And we're selling tons of compost tea, and we're starting to get low on our 2.5-gallon containers. So if you want a 2.5-gallon container, you better come in the next week because they're going to be gone, and then we'll just be down to the ones. But compost tea, slight improvement on it this year. We've got a little bit of a soil penetrant in there to help it get down into the soil and allow the soil to absorb it and hold it there where your plants can get to it. And so we're calling it Compost Tea Plus this year. So a little addition to the compost tea, and it's the same deal as what we've done in the past. Buy a container, get free refills throughout the growing season. We had compost tea till I think the second week of August last year. So we had it all through the summer until August, and by then I'm kind of like, I'm not feeding my plants anymore.
Yeah. By then it's about done.
If they're not producing by now, it's like, I'm not feeding you anymore. So.
All right. So great deal. Compost tea brewing now. And coming up in just a minute, we've got our bottom of the hour news break, but then we're coming right back. Mike's hanging on the line with another question, and we can take more of your calls. 753-5868 for the Garden Guide on the way next. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News update here 30 minutes after the hour. Well, a new Utah law banning fluoride in public drinking water goes into effect this next week, impacting more than 1.6 million residents in Brigham City, along with Salt Lake and Davis counties. Now, House Bill 81 prohibits any public water system from adding fluoride, which had been used for decades to help prevent tooth decay. Now, with the change, pharmacists in Utah can now prescribe fluoride supplements directly, no doctor or dentist visit required. State health officials say this is especially important for children ages 6 months to 16 years old. Now, Dr. Stacy Swilling with the Utah Department of Health and Human Services says that fluoride remains an essential tool in preventing cavities. Now, other options include fluoride varnishes, toothpaste, and mouthwashes. And one person is dead and another is in custody following another hit-and-run crash, this time happening in Salt Lake City early Friday morning. Salt Lake City police say that around 1:15, a Gold Cross ambulance crew found a 41-year-old man down at an intersection in Salt Lake. Now, despite their life-saving efforts, the unidentified man passed away. Officers were able to work with the Utah Transit Authority to review cameras in the area and identify the suspect's vehicle. That information was then shared with public safety agencies throughout Salt Lake Valley. Stephen Ray Weathers, a 61-year-old, was later arrested after firefighters spotted his vehicle in a parking lot of a nearby Trader Joe's. Now, the crew approached to check Weathers for injuries, and he allegedly attempted to drive off again before firefighters stopped him. Weathers is now facing charges of automobile homicide along with leaving the scene of a crash. Well, some really nice weather, but unfortunately it's not going to last, as we do have a storm headed our way for the second half of the weekend. That's going to bring showers beginning Sunday and continuing into next week. I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU News headlines.
Good morning. This is Chris Lewis. We're going to have another Game 7 in the NBA. Game 6, Rockets-Warriors. Houston goes on the road and controls the fourth quarter.
Şengün doubled, easily throws out of that to Van Vliet. And look how much room they're making Golden State cover now. They spread the floor. Green to the foul line to Şengün. Got away with a walk. Shovels underneath. Adams comes out of the dunker spot and flushes it with two hands.
Now it's on ESPN Radio. The Rockets beat the Warriors 115-107 to force a Game 7 Sunday in Houston. Fred Van Vliet leads the way with 29 points. The Warriors trying to avoid blowing the 3-1 lead in the series. Their forward, Jimmy Butler, after the game.
And you said the other night after the game, the confidence hasn't wavered. Now that you've lost two in a row, where is it at?
At all-time high. It's now, out of all times, it's win or go home. It's not wavering. We know how good of a team we are. Like you said, a couple of it has been here before, multiple times. So it's on us to make sure we get it done.
Big coaching news in the association. Basketball Hall of Fame coach Greg Popovich, no longer the coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He's transitioning to a full-time role as the team's president of basketball operations. He began with the Spurs as an assistant in 1988, took over as the head coach in 1996, three-time NBA Coach of the Year winner. Mitch Johnson will take over as the acting head coach. NHL, we will have a Game 7 between the Blues and the Jets after St. Louis dominates in the second period, scoring 4 goals in a 5-minute stretch. They beat Winnipeg by the score of 5-2 to tie that series up 3 games apiece. The Jets will host a Game 7 for the first time in franchise history.
Taking the guesswork out of gardening. It's the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the Garden Guide on this beautiful Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson's Seed and Garden. Phone lines are open at 753-5868. That's 753-KVNU for a question or comment about your lawn and garden for Mark Anderson. And let's go right back out to the phones. Mark, we have Mike, who has been holding on the line. Perfect. Mike, welcome to the show this morning. Thanks for holding.
No problem. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
I picked up a couple of bare roots from you guys, 2 peach and one cherry. They're in the ground. They're doing good. They're starting to wake up.
Awesome.
You talked about all of the different spraying and the different diseases and fungicides and stuff that can take place. Also, the peaches have blossomed some. Do I need to pull all of that so that the trees can focus on the root growth? And where do these diseases come from? Is that something to worry about right now? These are planted in my backyard, so that there's not other fruit trees in close proximity.
Sure.
But where does that stuff come from, and should I start worrying about it right now, or is it something that comes about through the breeze, through the bugs, through the
good question.
The bees?
Yeah, great questions. And where they're newly planted, and some of them are starting to bloom, usually I will, like that first year, if you just planted them, we're really going to focus on getting the root system as healthy as possible, but we can still let them bloom a little bit, and it's always kind of fun to have a peach or 2 on that on that very first
year.
Yeah, it's just kind of satisfying, especially after all the work of getting it ready to go. So I would highly recommend we keep hitting the root system every 2 or 3 weeks with a root drench, kind of like the Kangaroots or the Bigfoot would be awesome, and it's going to really get that root system established and as healthy as possible in as short amount of time as possible. I would probably wait and see if there's any fruit that sets on some of your young trees, and if you do, thin it down to just a couple fruits, so we don't have a lot of weight on the tree, and it's really not going to pull too much strength out of the tree. If we're giving it the nutrition that it needs, it's going to be able to pick that up and develop a root system and still produce a few fruits without any problem. So that should no concern. Don't worry about that. Yeah, but definitely thin it down, because like my peach tree last year, that was its 3rd year, had so much fruit on it, it would have like destroyed the tree. Yeah, I thinned like 90% of the fruit off, and I still probably should have done another 5 or 6%. It just had so much fruit on it. So they're loaded again this year, so I'll keep an eye on them. As for the diseases, that's a really great question, because it does get blown in through the wind most of the time. It does get brought in from some insects from time to time. Depends on which disease it is. So you're just better off doing a little bit of prevention. I would be highly suspect if you were to get any diseases this year. I'd be really, really surprised, but it never hurts. If you've got any type of powdery mildew that's been in your yard, that could transfer over to the trees. And this is just kind of a critical time while we're still kind of cool and wet to try and prevent some of that. So it would not hurt at all. I just sprayed my nectarines this last week, since they were blooming and just finished up blooming, because they get thrips really bad even on the young ones. So I sprayed those, And I'll probably try and do a fungicide on most of my fruits this weekend before it does storm. So not going to hurt if you don't, but I don't think it would be a bad idea if you did.
Okay, awesome. And then one more quick question on the cherry. If I don't have a cherry tree close that I'm aware of, there may be one in the neighborhood,
right?
That I'm not aware of for pollination. Is it safe to assume that if the cherry blossoms and they turn into fruit, that there's one close, or is it that if there's not a pollinator, I won't even get flowers?
What kind of tree did you plant? Do you know what variety it is?
It's a Bing.
It's a Bing. Okay. They will produce flowers on their own, whether there's a pollinator or not. And so it's still gonna produce flowers. But if it does start producing fruit, then you know you have a pollinator that's close enough that you should be in great shape. Bings and Lamberts and Royal Anne and Rainier, they need pollinators to set fruit, and so you just need another cherry nearby, and that's as far as a bee can fly. So if the bee goes to your neighbor's cherry and picks up some pollen, then comes over to your tree, it's going to pollinate, and you're going to get fruit set. And there are some other cherries that are self-pollinating. So if you did like Lapins or Stella or Van or Utah Giant, they're pollinators, and so they'll pollinate as well too. So even if you have somebody in your neighborhood that's got a couple trees, you'll probably be in pretty good shape.
Okay, I'll watch for that.
Yep.
Awesome.
We'll find out in the next year or two.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling, Mike. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that opens up the line at 753 KVNU 435-753-5868. Got a question about fruit trees. And, right now I think for especially everyone that planted those bare root trees that were on such great sales over the last 2 months, focusing on the roots right now, definitely. And Bigfoot, kangaroo, best way to do.
Amazing.
Get those started.
So I've got my dozen trees at home that I'm kind of babying along because I don't have my spot ready to plant them yet. So I've got them in 10-gallon pots. And so once a week, they're getting a combination of a little bit of kangaroos, a little bit of Bigfoot, and we're just focusing on getting those roots as healthy as possible. They're all starting to leaf out like crazy. So very excited about those trees. So the kangaroos and the Bigfoot have beneficial mycorrhiza in there. They have beneficial microbes and microorganisms to make your soil as healthy as possible. And it just creates this environment where your root system can take off like crazy. And so we highly recommend the kangaroos. We highly recommend the Mike, which is a mycorrhiza product, and the Bigfoot is really great too because it has the mycorrhiza and the beneficial microbes in there as well too. So some really cool products that are easy to mix up in water or to just apply to the root ball when you're planting new plants, and that will colonize your root system with these beneficial microbes and microorganisms to make them more effective at picking up water and picking up nutrient. All of a sudden your root system is going to be triple the size of what it was because of what we've introduced into their natural environment. So
now if you planted a tree, say I'm thinking of a peach tree we put in, I think it's coming up on 3 years now.
Yeah.
Bigfoot, kangaroo, still helpful for it?
Both, yeah. So I've got a dogwood at home that the deer barked. Like they took part of the bark off. So with their antlers, they just like barked it on one side. So the last year I've been just kind of doctoring it a little bit. So we've like protected that wound. And then I just water it about once a month with either the kangaroos or with the Bigfoot and just get that root system as healthy as possible. And right now it's in full bloom and it's like gorgeous.
Nice.
And dogwoods are kind of like very marginal for around here. So we've got it in a really well protected spot, but it's got these gorgeous big dark red flowers on it right now. It's so beautiful. Pretty. Yeah. I got to plant a pink one too. I want to do a pink one in my backyard.
All right. Well, let's go right back out to the phone lines. We have a couple calls waiting. Jared is first on the line from Providence. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Hey, thank you. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for taking my call. I got a question. Actually, I'm a little late getting some carrots in, and I've just got a question on planting some carrots, please.
Yeah. Yes. So,
hey, what with those? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Say you got the question. Go for it, Jared.
Well, hey, I was just wondering with those little tiny seeds, what's the best what's the best way to just get those planted? As I try to sprinkle them out, sometimes they just clump up together. What's the best way to get those spread out?
All right, so I usually I'll take my carrot seeds home, and we actually planted ours last weekend. So you're not too late. Really good time to plant the carrots. It's been kind of cold and wet in the soil, so now is perfect for it. And I've got mine in my little packet. And what I'll do is I'll rake the area where I'm going to plant the carrots. So I did about a 25-foot row of carrots, and I rake it about 8 inches, 10 inches wide. I like a kind of a wider row. And then I put a little slow-release fertilizer down in there and kind of rake that into the soil as well too. Then I spread my seeds out, and I just kind of sprinkle them lightly. You know, sometimes there's too many together, and sometimes they're a little bit farther apart. But I just do the best that I can as I'm going along there. And then I'll rake them again very, very lightly, just to kind of work them into the soil just a little bit. And then instead of putting peat moss or potting soil over them, I use coconut coir. And the coconut coir is like the exterior of a coconut, and they've ground it all up, and it's more fibrous than peat moss, and so it sticks around a lot longer, and it keeps the seed from washing away. So when I water it with a watering can, sometimes the seeds would float and move and go somewhere else. Right. They kind of all clump together, and the coconut coir keeps them in place. And then the top of the coconut coir will dry out really quickly, so it looks like it's dry. But then you dig down a quarter of an inch, and it's wet underneath. It really, really holds the moisture. And I can get my carrot seeds to germinate in almost half the time if I use the coconut coir method on them. And I'm just putting a quarter of an inch to maybe a half inch at the most of coconut coir over the top of the carrots, and then I just kind of step on it lightly, just kind of pack it down just slightly, and then it keeps the carrots in place. It holds the moisture, and you'll get amazing germination out of it that way.
Okay, great. Right. And do you have to thin some of those carrots out sometimes?
Unfortunately,
really clumped together?
Unfortunately, okay. It's I hate it. It's the worst thing to do in my garden. It's I'll pull weeds all day, but don't make me thin the carrots. Yeah. I hate it. But yes, you really want one carrot about every inch to inch and a half, and end up having to sacrifice way too many carrots. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough pulling those things out when they start to germinate.
Yep, I hate it.
Hey, well, thanks so much for your help.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend, Jared.
Now, one thing else.
Yep, bye-bye.
Also, I've heard people will mix a little sand in as they're mixing that fertilizer.
It gets them to thin out.
Yeah.
And what I usually tell people is if you plant one seed every 2 inches, then they don't come up. But if you plant them thicker, every single one of them comes up.
Always seems to be the case.
That's just how it works, with the carrots. So we plant a little heavier and end up thinning and cry a few tears while we're doing it. Yeah. So,
All right. Well, Curtis has been holding on the line from Smithfield. Curtis, welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning. Hey, I have just a simple question about lawn care.
Yeah.
I killed my whole front yard last year, and I planted your Eden grass.
Yes.
And I'm in my first year, and I love it. I mean, it's almost so thick it's hard to mow.
Awesome.
But now other than the water that I know I can water less, but do I treat it as a normal lawn with broadleaf spray and fertilizer?
Absolutely.
Do I use exactly the same thing?
Treat it just like you would your regular turf, and that bluegrass that's in there is a very, very aggressive spreading bluegrass. So it'll thicken up really, really fast. But then you've got that dwarf turf-type fescue in there that's going to have root system that will go 2, 3, 4 feet deep looking for water. So I would adjust your watering to where you're watering for longer periods of time, but much less frequently. So we want to get that water to penetrate down really deep, and then your fescue will just go after it. And you probably... Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't even turned on the sprinkling system yet.
Yeah.
And I still feel like when I walk on it that it's got moisture in it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's an amazing grass seed, and you're going to love the color and the durability as well, too. And you could probably get away right now with not watering at all until we get maybe 2 weeks of dry weather. And then, water once every 5 to 7 days, and I think you're going to stay pretty green all summer.
Yeah, I mean, if I get rain next week like it's forecasting, I don't know. I'll probably try and go to June.
Yeah. It would be amazing. Like our irrigation water's not on yet, so we probably got another week or 10 days or so. And I'm just like, oh, give me one more rainstorm and I'll be good. It's like I won't have to turn any water on. And if we get a couple more rainstorms in May, which is highly likely, it'll be the 1st of June before we even have to turn the water on. So love it.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because when I mowed it the other day, I had a few dandelions in it, and I just wanted to make sure that I could use a broadleaf spray on it.
As long as you've mowed it a couple times since you planted it, you are good to go on broadleaf, and whatever broadleaf herbicide you use won't damage your turf at all, and it'll get all your dandelions and your morning glory and your thistle. If you use like weed-free zone, I'd say use a weed-free zone because it's going to get the morning glory and the hard-to-kill stuff, and it definitely won't bother your turf.
Well, I just have neighbors with dandelions.
Yeah.
So I should probably go spray the neighbors.
You could do that. There is a really cool product that Bayer has, and it's called Season-Long Weed Control. And it has a really good broadleaf herbicide in there to kill what's out there. So it'll kill your dandelions and your clover and your mallow. Probably work pretty well on morning glory. But it has a weed preventer in there that is specific to turf and to broadleaf weeds. So it'll actually prevent dandelions and morning glory and clover and mallow and thistles for 6 months. And so you could actually apply that right now. It would kill your existing weeds, and then for 6 months it would kill the seeds so you don't have new ones cropping up for the rest of the year. So that would be a really great option. It's made by Bayer, Season-Long Weed Control.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been so impressed with the front yard. I'm about ready to do the back.
Do the back, yeah. And it wasn't too. Was it terrible killing the grass off and then reseeding it and doing it? It's really not that hard.
No, I got a little nervous because I didn't see the new grass grow in
coming up
like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and I thought, I've done something wrong. And then all of a sudden, the grass just went crazy.
Cool.
And really, I walk on it and you just have a hard time because it's so thick.
Right. And even at the cost of the seed, you're probably about $30 to $35 per 1,000 square feet, which really just isn't very much money when it comes down to it.
No.
Your water savings this year is going to pay for your grass seed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah.
And so now we're still so good about the front yard. And we spend more time on the backyard that we think that the backyard will be just as good as the front yard is.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, okay, well, it was good advice. I'm glad I have the lawn, and I'm excited to see how the water works this year.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Curtis.
Okay, see you.
Have a great weekend. Yep,
bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, still some time, and we've got Jeff joining us on the line from Richmond. Jeff, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about, I heard a rumor about you should let your soil in your garden just sit for a year for some reason, every 7 years or so. What's your thoughts on this?
You can let part of your garden go fallow from year to year, but you always want to add something to it. So a lot of our gardeners, if they have a really big garden, you can save a quarter of it each year and not use it, and then plant like a cover crop. You'd plant clover or buckwheat or vetch or something in there that's going to like really build your soil back up. So we call those green manures. So we're going to grow some plants in there that are going to really build your soil back up. And this is what like a lot of the farmers in Idaho will do is they won't let them just lay completely fallow, but they'll grow wheat for 2 or 3 years and harvest the wheat, and then they'll do potatoes. And it's every 2 or 3 years that they'll actually plant the potatoes, but they'll rotate crops so you have something different, because they'll take the straw from the wheat and they'll work that back into the soil, and it loosens the soil up and it improves the soil as they work that organic matter back into the soil. So you could absolutely do that with your garden. If it's big enough to sacrifice, parts of it for a year, you could do a quarter this year and a quarter the next year and another quarter the year after. So you can kind of rotate through. But, if you're adding a lot of organic matter and, increasing your fertility of the soil each year, you don't have to let it go fallow as long as you're incorporating good stuff into your soil each fall.
So I got some horse manure from a neighbor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about our ash out of our wood burning stoves and sawdust and different things like that?
Yep, a variety of different materials is best. So we don't want to do too much of any one thing. And so a 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch of a manure would be great. Then some sawdust and some leaves and some grass clippings, all at a 1/2 inch layer of each material. We want like 3 or 4 or 5 different materials at 1/2 inch to an inch of each one of those. The ash would be great. Just don't use too much of it. You get too much ash and it will really cause problems. So we want just a thin layer of the ash out there, and then incorporate it in the fall with some nitrogen. And then we supplement it with like a little bit of humic, because the humic's got lots of microbes and microorganisms that will decompose all that organic matter that you've applied to it, and then work it in. And then each year it'll just improve your soil till it's much, much better than it has been in the past. So we can gradually make your soil better, but if you don't put anything into your soil each year, you can gradually make it worse as well too. So it's a great question, Jeff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful weekend, Jeff.
I'm going to take some musicians in the school bus.
Oh.
Gordon High and listen to music all day.
All right. That sounds good.
Well, good luck with that, and hope you have some luck with the garden. Because that brings up a really good point. And I remember back in the old days, and I say old days, 40 years ago, my grandpa, he loved his manure.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, he'd put that stuff out so thick that the neighbors were complaining for months. And, we used to joke about it because, even once he started planting and the plants were coming up, a lot of times some of those plants start to smell.
Yeah, you could smell it too. Yeah,
and so, and too much of any good thing is not going to be
can be a bad thing. So the key when you're adding organic matter to your garden, and there's a lot of different things you can use. So sawdust, wood shavings, straw is really great. Compost from the landfill, compost from the poultry producer.
Poultry farms.
Yeah, but little steer manure. I mean, there's lots of different materials that we can actually use. Grass clippings and leaves off the trees. We want to use small quantities of 3 or 4 or 5 different ingredients to make that better. So this last fall, I put some mushroom compost on. I put some leaves on. I put some grass clippings on. We put straw out there as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
My garden's 8,000 square feet. It's hard to get a lot of organic matter to cover that much area. We put a little bit of poultry manure out there as well, too, and then we tilled the whole thing in. And this spring, there was a little bit of straw left over, but most everything else had decomposed. And then we ran the tiller through the garden this spring, and it's all gone. It's like it's all incorporated back in, and the soil's like loose and light and fluffy and nice. And you just keep doing that every year, and all of a sudden your clay doesn't clump anymore, and your soil is just like crumbly and nice. It's just that consistent adding of organic matter to the garden, kind of like what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Mark from Green Grow.
Oh yeah,
it's like some biochar and the organic matter and the beneficial microbes and everything you can use to turn that soil into this nice, dark, rich growing environment that has, all the beneficial microbes and microorganisms in there. All of a sudden your plants are going to just produce way, way more than they have in the past. So, yeah,
all right.
Very cool.
Well, we've had some great questions. Appreciate all of the great calls this hour. And we've got just a couple minutes left. A quick reminder for people who are interested in these purple tomatoes.
Purple tomatoes, yep.
You can stop by today. You've only got, what did you say, about
50.
4 dozen?
I've got 50. Yeah, I've got 50. So it is called the purple tomato. It is a genetically modified tomato, so we're being upfront with it. This is a GMO tomato. Never been able to get one before, and it comes from the UK, so it comes from the United Kingdom, and it is supposed to be the most nutritious tomato ever developed, and it's purple all the way through. and it is called the purple tomato. If you want to look it up online, you can check it out. And they're supposed to be highly nutritious, lots of lycopene, lots of antioxidants, and it's supposed to taste amazing. And we've got a few plants. They're $10 each. You've got to ask my crew for it because they're not out with the rest of the plants. We've got them tucked away.
Okay.
We don't want somebody just like picking one up and not knowing what they're getting. So, yeah, but it should be a really interesting tomato to grow and see what it's like.
Okay.
Yeah, so lots of fun.
So purple tomatoes, and then also got the compost tea that is brewing now. And that's going to be continuing to brew through a good portion of August. And you can refill those anytime you stop by Anderson's.
Compost tea's going, free refills all summer long. Greenhouses are loaded. So we've got flowers, we've got perennials, we've got vegetables, we've got trees, we've got shrubs, little bit of everything. And we are just ready for spring at Anderson's. All the seeds are in. It's like all the seeds are available. It's go time when it comes to getting out in the garden and having a little bit of fun.
And as we mentioned, a lot of those plants can go in. You may want to just protect some of those tender plants just due to the fact that we are only the 1st of May, and Mother Nature has always given us a few May Day surprises.
We're always going to get some frost, it seems like. Average last frost is the 20th of May. Last year it happened to be the 18th of June, so it was really late, but we got to protect those plants.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us on the Garden Guide here on KVNU.
News and talk around the clock.
I listen to you all the time.
News Talk.